Our next debate is on AI, artificial intelligence, and follows on from the day-long event that we staged here yesterday, as Guy mentioned. So can we please have our expert witnesses come up onto the stage, and let's give them a round of applause as they do so. The name of the debate, AI for telcos, is relevant to more than just the customer call center. Now, if you believe the hype, AI is the solution to every problem. So where can AI be applied within a telco organization to achieve maximum effect? What impact will this technology have on networks and operations? And looking further ahead, should telcos be training or even creating their own large language models? Well, if we can have our first witness up to the lectern, and that is Raj Yavakar, CTO of Juniper Networks. Raj,
thank you.
You have 3 minutes.
Right, I don't see the timer.
There it is.
In the spirit of this so-called great telco debate, I'm going to stipulate that the telco ecosystem is like a TV soap opera. So one word I want you to remember from my pitch today is SOAPs, S-O-A-P-S. It stands for S as in security and fraud detection, O for network optimization, A for analytics, P for predictability, and S for sustainability. So I think the AI is good enough for telcos for SOAPs. So let me elaborate further. So telcos have lots of information about customers. We talk about, so for example, small, medium businesses. And there is a customer information like PII, usage, motion. All that information is very useful if you couple that with AI for fraud detection and security, cyber security. For example, you can easily detect anomalies like banks do and be able to avoid cyber security. You can avoid frauds such as swapping illegal SIMs or phishing attacks. So you can add a lot of value if you do that. Now the next letter in SOAPs is optimization, O, network optimization. There's a lot of data available to telcos on time series data, on network traffic, congestion, and so on. And you can use that with AI for predicting congestion, taking proactive steps to optimize flows, reroute traffic, and load balance. And if you do that, you can even create a self-healing network, like we've done at Juniper with Mist Networks. What we do is that using AI and cloud management, we are able to proactively resolve customer issues before customers even report them, right? A is for analysis or analytics. So AI-driven analytics based on customer behavior preferences, especially for SMBs. You can create tailored services that are personalized for particular usage. That can be competitive differentiation for telcos. So that's another idea. Then the P is for predictive analytics. You can use it for predictive maintenance, predictive troubleshooting. That reduces outages and cost for the telcos. But also more importantly, SMBs do not have to clog up customer support lines because their problems will be taken care of in advance. So that leads to much better customer experience. Finally, S for sustainability. Now you have all the data on utilization, right? You have data on usage patterns based on time of day, whether it's a football game or whatever is happening, events. You can use now that data and AI to predict traffic patterns. For example, and save energy. For example, at Juniper, we have a chassis-based router, which has multiple line cards and internal fabric, a lot of redundancy. But based on traffic patterns and utilization, you can turn off line cards and save energy. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Raj. Use the full 3 minutes there. Thank you for that very clean and wholesome open to this debate.
Thank you.
Our next expert witness, Nick Willits, the CEO of the TM Forum.
All right. Good afternoon. I will try and keep it clean and wholesome. So, first of all, great to be back here. What a great event. The title alone, is AI relevant to more than the contact center? I don't think I need 3 minutes to answer that. AI and ML has been used in this industry for more than 5 years. And in the TM Forum that has over 800 member companies, we've been working with that technology in areas like predictive fault resolution in networks and technologies, for more than 4 years with results that have billions of dollars of value for the industry. So to me, there's no question this is not a new wave. It has just surfaced up to the boardroom and the CEO level to be driven more top down. Now, generative AI, the word of the moment and the word of 2023, clearly does have huge value. It democratizes access to data and it can allow us to revolutionize how we interact with data. And TM Forum research we just released today shows that over 95% of operators believe this will have significant business impact within the next 5 years. But let's be honest, what's happening so far when it comes to use of generative AI, and I'm sure you heard it at the summit yesterday, is just scratching the surface. We're dealing with the mere human inefficiency of businesses today to access data to improve customer experience. These are all meaningful, important use cases, but they're only the beginning. Because the real value of AI will be in revolutionizing the cost base of our businesses today. This industry is far too complex, far too overweight in terms of its cost base to survive the next decade. And AI is one of a number of tools to solve that challenge. Just take network operations alone. It's about 27% of OpEx. That means globally as an industry, we're spending about $370 billion operating day-to-day on networks. You can't eliminate that cost, but you can automate a huge proportion of it, and you can deliver a better experience in the process. That's why more than 40 companies are collaborating in the TM Forum's Autonomous Networks program to drive that change. That's why you see companies like Telefonica, Orange, China Mobile committing to levels of automation in the network, not just in a public stage like this, but to their shareholders in capital market days. But, and there's a big but, for all of the excitement about AI, we cannot repeat the mistakes of cloud because AI is just another technology. We were having the same discussion 5 years ago. Cloud's going to save the world. It's going to transform the cost base. It's going to make everything better. Unless we actually build in AI, change our operating model, and transform the way our businesses run to embrace this technology, it is just another belt-on technology that will be the other side of the hype curve pretty disappointed with. So my ask today is, let's get serious about what AI means for us as an industry and the fundamental rethink of how we operate, not just bolt it on as another technology. Thank you.
Very good. Very good. Very good timing as well, Nick. Well done. Our next expert witness is Anand Vaidyanathan, Principal Consultant for NFV, 5G Orchestration and OSS at Hewlett Packard Enterprise.
Thank you.
Anand.
I think the profile is pulled by GenAI. It is taken from LinkedIn. So, okay. Anyway, good afternoon, everyone. Right? Just our job is much made easier, right? After 3 debates in the morning. So, to starting with how you are going to create customer value, right? The customer and the operator. Then we said identity alone is not sufficient. So, you need to create more value on top of that. Then we ruled out open API is not something to be feared. You can easily, address that topic as well. And the third one size, doesn't fit all. You can put it in any cloud, right? So basically, wherever you place this load. So our key point of view with respect to this is the juggler in the middle, right? So the network operations team is where AI is going to add more value, right? So end of the day, like how Mike rightly pointed out, right? So there's a whole lot of things. Now it's in a firefight mode, right? So always he is in a firefighting mode. There is huge amount of pressure on to run the operations, to keep the lights on. So how AI is going to help in making his life easier? So that's where our key focus is, right? So network operations, automations, all the way from infrastructure automation to the resource to the service level. That's where we see AI is going to really help, right? So that's one aspect, and it is nothing new, right? So in the last 20 years, we've all been doing root cause analysis, correlation, everything. But now AI is going to, introduce new ways of automation, which was not possible in the earlier days, right? It is accelerating and making its life much more easier. So that's the way the industry is progressing. And Gen AI, although it is very revolutionary, but still it is very unpredictable, as they rightly said. It is very in the infancy, early stages. And a lot needs to be considered with respect to security, regulation, and so on and so forth. I think we debated this a lot even yesterday. So that's another area. And there was an interestingly a good question in the last debate, whether it will all be put in the public cloud? No, right? Mainly because of the security and the sovereignty concerns. There will be LLMs created specifically attuned for telco, and it is already happening. You might have seen the announcement of DTAG and SKT building their own chatbot with Anthropic and so on. And also industry bodies like IEEE has already scheduled workshops to come up with different ideas of LLMs in the telco space, starting from network observability to capacity planning to where all you can build multiple LLMs, right? So that's the way it is going to be. And we as HP, as one of the global supercomputing provider, we also know that it's going to be not one size fits all. There will be different LLMs trained for different kinds of workloads. And we are going to offer that as a service, right? Just my marketing pitch on that side. But yes, that's it about. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Anand. So lots of potential there, I think, as we probably all know. So our next expert witness is Akira Tada. He is head of executive the briefing center and executive digital business strategist at SoftBank. Akira.
Okay, thanks for the invitation today. So I think our POV, like my POV, is AI from the meaning we know so far is just a tool and just a model. And so if we talk about AI, in the form we know, it's just a tool, a model to operationalize or to deliver operational efficiency. But if we talk about, from that perspective, AI has been everywhere. And people just doesn't talk about that, but AI has been everywhere. But if we talk about, if we extend the scope of AI to generative AI, this is completely different. This gives us a completely different meaning. Generative AI is changing a lot. So in the era of telephony, we are selling minutes, and in the era of smartphones, we are selling the data. And in the era of Web 2.0, we are selling the capacity. And the generative AI, which we really don't know what to sell because this is to come in. Generative AI is putting a value to the output or use case based upon the context provided. So far, telecommunication carriers are asked to provide stability, connectivity, safety, etc., etc. It doesn't change, and we continue to invest, and we keep working on. But generative AI is changing the value for what we believe. I mean, generative AI is putting the cost for communication to zero. And also, generative AI is making the cost to create the content to zero. And generative AI is also making the cost to do a natural language processing and content distribution to zero. And on the other hand, the new products like ChatGPT achieve 230 million access in 6 months. So this is creating the great opportunities. And people are not paying for the content, people are not paying for the output, but people on the other hand, people paying for chatbot. So this is we believe that this is just more than operational efficiency. This is the new tool. This is new model to create a new value for us. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Akira. And our final expert witness is Michael McGrorty, Senior Business Development Manager at VMware.
Yes, thank you very much. So I think when I think of the opportunities for AI in telco, there's two things that spring to mind. One is about improving customer experience, and the other is about, as we've talked about already, simplifying network operations. And so I want to talk about the customer experience, numerous opportunities for AI. It could be anything from using AI to help tailor plans and pricing models to better align with individual customer needs. And I think that's relevant for both consumer and enterprise customers, moving away from generic offerings towards something that's ultra individualized. And then talking about those offerings, making our investment decisions. Can we use AI-driven predictive models to develop and bring to market services that better resonate with what customer require, what our customer needs? So I think a data-driven approach for telcos, helping them to decide on areas to invest in, making faster decisions, and ultimately better ROI from those decisions. So I think as a customer of a telco, I think that's maybe areas where they can help. From conversations with telco customers, I think we see Open RAN, cloudification, disaggregation, we've talked about a lot today already. Ultimately, networks are becoming more complex to manage. So I think this comes as well with open APIs, open interfaces, and a lot more observability and visibility into those networks. So I think those two things together, the increased complexity, different skill sets that are required, but as well the visibility, the observability, and the controllability of those new networks are perfect to introduce AI into network operations. And so I think by training AI models on the vast data that's generated by these new networks, operators can gain actionable insights into the networks, and they can be used to automate tasks, optimize resource allocation, and ultimately do some predictive maintenance before issues actually arise. So I think network operations definitely is one we see with the RIC, XApps and RApps leveraging AI to be able to do end-to-end optimization of the network, but as well then coming back into the operator, talking about network strategy for plan out, for rollout, for upgrades. Can we use AI predictive models to determine what's the optimal upgrade strategy for a network? And I think we always talk about the movement from CSP to DSP, telco to techno. There's so many things that we talk about, but ultimately AI will be at the center of those for the telcos.
Excellent. Great. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. And thank you to all of our expert witnesses. 3 minutes each. Well done on getting in on the time, as everybody else has done today. Very impressive. Because we've heard from our witnesses now, but what we need is a great telco debate motion for you all to debate and vote on. So, as usual, it's over to Chris and Graham, who will introduce the motion.
We have a motion, Ray.
Good.
Luckily. Thank
Good.
God for that.
I'm glad.
Right, okay, the motion is this. The motion is AI will finally allow telcos to expose the pot of gold at the end of the SMB rainbow, SMB being small and medium business. Before we get into the for and against, Chris, do you want to just explain why we, over a few bottles of wine, why we focused AI in on this particular area?
Absolutely, because the issue, one of the issues that we keep coming back to is actually revenue and getting the relevance of the telco and generating new revenue, getting closer to customers. So obviously that was partly what we discussed in the opening debate on identity, and then obviously the ecosystem play. And for the last 20 years of my much longer career, I've been hearing from the telco community that SMB is the sweet spot that's going to generate a whole new pot of gold for the industry. That in many European countries especially, the small and medium businesses represent the absolute engine of the economy. And yet the telecom industry has failed to really address those needs. And the question here was that and hence the issue about more than AI just in the contact center and all the other issues of operational side, which we've been into in previous discussions. But actually, that can AI actually help the telco build the right services, interact with the small and medium businesses to open up that pot of revenue? Because everyone keeps telling us we're looking for new revenue for the industry. We need new revenue to fuel the operational change that we've just been hearing about from the expert witnesses. And certainly if we have that hopes of raising the relative position of the telco in this broader digital economy. So that was the sort of thinking behind it, that it's an area that traditionally telcos have not served very well. You could say in many cases they may even be seen to have exploited them by high prices for relatively low impact services. But then actually the leveraging of AI and the fact that, in fact, there's a great phrase which I wish I'd made myself, but actually was Harmeen Mehta, the CIO at BT, introduced at the TM Forum event up in Copenhagen with Nick, was that for the first time, technology is talking our language. So are we able to leverage the fact that technology talks the language that we talk, the natural language, to be able to adapt, manipulate, and deliver the service that a large group of customers who've been underserved, like the SMB, can actually finally go for?
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Was that what I said on the night?
That was what you said, I think, while I was having my sausage and mash. Now, so Alexa flipped a coin, and Chris will soon argue completely against what he's just been saying. And I'm going to stand up now because I'm going to argue for. Right, I'm going to argue for. So, as Chris mentioned earlier, small and medium businesses in the OECD countries anyway, they're estimated to contribute 50% of GDP. So incredibly important to our economy. And I think you'd all agree that in the telecom industry, as in actually many other industries, we've not been great at giving those organisations what they want and need, or even in understanding what they want and need over the past few years. I'm sure we all have things, don't we, in our personal life that we ought to be good at and we're actually shit at. And I do. I mean, any kind of DIY, anything, putting up shelves, anything like that, I'll have a go, but it always just crashes onto the floor. It's always very embarrassing. And addressing the small and medium business market in the telecoms industry has been like that. So I want to paint a picture for you of what it could be like if we take all the AI tools, even that we just know about today, even the ones that we just know about today, how we could address this market. So let's translate something from the world of industry for a minute and put it into telecom. So in industry, we talk a lot about digital twins. We can build a virtual factory inside a computer and we can say, what would happen if we did this? What would happen if we introduced this machine or changed this process? And we can model that super, super fast in the virtual environment without actually building it physically. And we go through lots and lots of iterations of that, and then we can arrive at the optimal thing, and then we'll build the optimal thing. So imagine if we had a digital twin of the SMB market, of your SMB market. Okay, we had all of your customers, all the hairdressers, the plumbers, the small manufacturing companies. We had all of those represented in this model, and the consumption of services and their likes and dislikes and how they move around and how they change consumption at different times of the day. And then we could launch literally 1 million products a minute at those people and go, what would happen if we did this? What if we did that? What if it was priced like this? What if we did this, that, the other? And we heard earlier on that it takes 2 years to bring a product to market. Literally, we could bring 1 million products to market a minute inside a digital twin. And we don't even have to think of what they're going to be because the AI will do that for us, okay? And it will arrive at an optimum set of products. It could be by vertical sector, by industry, by time of day, by size of company. I don't know. I've got no idea, right? But it's going to arrive at something, and then we can launch those products in the real world. So I think, ladies and gentlemen, that's the vision of the future. Buy into it. Vote for the motion. Thank you very much.
I love the way you got me to partly answer your question first before I actually talked about it. The SMB problem, as I mentioned, for the last 20 years has been something which the industry has been saying, we must get into these people, we must understand these people. The problem is that not just about the difference between the hairdressers, the plumbers and the small manufacturing businesses, but within those organizations, the degree of understanding of what the technology can do is so vastly different. And I think of it as a small proportion who are sort of alpha customers who understand it, often driven by the managing director, the founder of the business who understands what's going on, sees the benefit. But the vast majority are real laggards in terms of the technology and how they might embrace it as part of their businesses. Further to that, the assumption within the telco world that connectivity solves all problems is fundamentally flawed. Solving the problem of a hairdresser, I don't know why you raised hairdressers, but thank you.
Well, I don't use one.
You don't? Do you not? You're not gone bald, have you?
Wig makers.
Actually, I've got I must tell you, I've got an application now called Be My AI on my phone, which is a blindy app, and it takes pictures and uses ChatGPT to then and tells me in dramatic detail what's going on. So it did actually tell me he was bald, so I'm slightly
Said an old bald man.
It did say an old bald man. And And if anyone in the audience would like to benefit from my ChatGPT later on, we can over a drink. But seriously, and I think it came up in some of the previous discussions, that what problems are we solving? Well, obviously for many businesses, it's about inventory, it's about getting the payroll, we talked about the HR solutions. So getting access to all those services. And actually, it's the combination of all the technologies we've been talking about with the business process. And I think the challenge for the small businesses, they don't care about the technology. They don't want to understand how broadband works, whether they should be using 5G or the fixed network or Wi-Fi or whatever. They just want it to support the business. And I think this is a combination of many services, including the hyperscalers and people we talked about earlier, bringing Office 365 or whatever it may be, Salesforce. Great examples of very focused service delivery. And of course, because it's on cloud, it's scalable. And because those companies can now reach to the customer through the digital media that they employ, they get the ear and the eye and the wallet of the small and medium business. So the telco may well be underpinning all of those services, but at the end of the day, it's got to be a business solution. So embedding the connectivity, embedding all of the services we've been talking about into a solution is more likely to be done through a third party. And one of the facts of economics often says that in terms of supply and demand, small businesses like dealing with other small businesses. They don't like being treated like a non-starter, like a small entity. So if we're thinking about the way people consume services in the future, this SMB engine, as we've talked about, then there are already existing channels to market. I implore the telecom industry to think more wholesale, think more channel, and think about supporting the small businesses, the channels, the value-added resellers who actually support those small customers. So enable it, yes, but it's not going to be the pot of gold in the motion. Thank you.
Right, so we're diving really into the money, the revenue side of things. So actually I want to start by coming to our panel here. And just based on that motion, I just want to ask you each in turn, do you think the communications service provider, telecom operator, DSP community has it in their wheelhouse to use AI to drive revenues, new revenues from the SMB sector? And does the existing vendor community have what it takes to help them do that? Let's start with you, Raj.
Thank you, Ray. So I think that before we talk about telcos taking advantage of AI or ML, you have to also consider their phobia. They have a phobia when it comes to public clouds. And if you want to take large data sets and process them using machine learning models, you need to build data pipelines and you need infrastructure. And public cloud like Databricks, like companies are ideal for that infrastructure. So unless they get over that phobia, don't try to reinvent the wheel, they would not be able to take advantage of AI. If they do that, I do believe that then they can start offering SMBs real value. My favorite small business would be hairdresser, right? And what do they need? They need not just connectivity, but they want to be able to connect to their customers, find their behaviors, usage patterns, and start offering them additional services and products. And telcos could become the channel for them.
Okay. Nick, I mean, obviously you have a lot of telcos as your members, and I'm sure they've been talking about this. So what's the prevailing view and what's your view?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So
Good one.
AI can get you to be fit enough to move fast enough at the right cost point to deliver a better outcome. And I think it was in Chris's point, deliver a solution, not a technology. This industry is to stop showing up with technologies, particularly SMB, don't care. They want an outcome. So yes, it can help you get fit enough. En masse, will this market go to market with AI-driven products? I'm very skeptical, but there are operators already doing it. So if you look at Akira in Sri Lanka, now across many parts of Asia, they're selling AI-based products to small, medium enterprises and making significant revenues from it. But if you actually unpick what is taken for them to do that, they've had to build a new sales force, they've had to build new products, they've had to build a whole AI engineering team. So you could question at this point, is it really a telco doing that or is it an adjacent business? It can be done, it is happening. There are two different choices. Table stakes for us is get the business fit enough to compete and deliver solutions, not technology.
And Is that enough? Getting them fit enough to address the SMB market? Never mind offering them AI services, but is that enough, do you think, to help?
Not at all, because if you are just fit to run a race, but you choose not to actually where you want to go, it's not going to actually achieve anything. So you have to then say, have I built up my go-to-market, my depth of customer understanding, the customer experience to actually then innovate? So the small part of Graham's point I did have sympathy for, I want whatever he's smoking, is this enthusiasm for use the data you have to understand customer problems. But we have to face facts as an industry. We do not understand the needs of our customers. Hence, we keep showing up with technologies, not solutions.
Yeah. I think it's fair to say that when we come to vote on this motion, we shouldn't take Graham's suggestion of 1 million new services a minute literally. Maybe 500,000, but maybe not the full million. Anand.
Yeah, see, I fully agree, right? It's very simple. A company is not AI ready unless it is data ready, right? And today they are not leveraging it for their own internal lot of issues. And I'll be very surprised that, there are very few like Akira, as you rightly said, for the enterprise customer. They have to totally create as a separate entity to create value out of it. But if you want to embed into an existing ecosystem, it's not so easy. Currently they are not using for the very simplest things of, running the operations efficiently, doing closed looping and, those kind of stuff. And you're talking about exposing to outside world. I don't think they are fit there, right? So they are not fit for purpose currently. That's fine.
Can I just...
Okay, very quickly. Yeah.
One point I want to make, right? If you're a small business and your customers are carrying mobile phones, telcos have a lot of data about customers. And that can be used to provide a service. It can be a separate business entity, but telco could do that.
Good point. Akira, don't know about the SMB market in Japan, but is there a sense at SoftBank and within the Japanese telco community that there might be a new chance to make more of that part of the enterprise?
Yes, I do think so. As you pointed out, the definition of SMB business is a little bit different than other countries. SMB in Japan is more small scale, but we do know and we do have the customers at the scale of SMB. I think you usually talked about here in the other countries. The challenge to think about SMB from a telecommunication company perspective is all about the scale is not enough. So scale is not enough means that we really don't want to spend a lot of time to think about the service specs and also think about and also prepare the capacity infrastructure for them. And also product managers are faced with a lot of challenges to get investment justified. But with AI, especially generative AIs, that we really don't need to understand pains, problems, issues SMB facing. Let ChatGPT understand what problem you have and what counterpart you need, what problem solver you want. Then let them go. And we just think about our the strengths like security, connectivity, stability, etc., etc. So this gives us more like easy tasks, the possibility to think about easy tasks to get more revenues from this.
Okay, yeah, interesting, because I think, over the past near 30 years that this has been a topic that I've been hearing about, if I could encapsulate the service provider take on the SMB market, it's that they're too needy, so we can't make any money out of it. Michael, what's your view here? I mean, do we have the companies and the capabilities to help the telcos, or do they already have the capabilities to take these AI tools to help them in the SMB market?
Yeah, look, I think for the purpose of a debate, maybe not too helpful that I'm going to agree with what everyone has said pretty much. I think telcos AI as a tool to help them be fitter, be more agile, have network operations streamlined, 100%. That's not up for debate. I think AI will be central to that going forward. But for a telco to offer AI services or AI-driven products into SMB, I don't know that they are the best fit to do that. I think maybe there's other companies who will do that.
Okay.
But if I might sort of interject, part of the motion is about using AI to be able to deliver services. It doesn't say deliver AI services. It's helping deliver services. So
Exactly.
the whole notion of generating products that Graham was talking about, that you're using those tools to go and pull things together based on the data.
But it could be both.
I know it is both, but I'm saying, but
not either one was the other.
Okay. Let's come to the floor, because I'm sure there's got to be hands up here with questions for Okay, yes, we have one over there, back left, and then did I see another one going up over there? We'll start over here.
Hi, it's Mark from Connectivity. I couldn't help but think when the motion was asked, or the question was asked, that didn't we ask the same question about 5G?
Yeah.
And so I suppose
recycling, right?
Yeah. So I suppose my question is how do we avoid, I suppose, falling into that same trap that we've done with 5G or with any other technology? I think Raj, you mentioned it, or Nick, sorry, as well, being technology led in that piece. How do we avoid that?
Yeah.
Anybody want to take that?
I'll go first.
Yeah. Just shout out.
I think you're spot on. It is. You could replay that. You could play it for cloud, 5G. I think it's exactly the same narrative. How do we avoid it? We have to get serious about simplifying, modernizing, and automating the business, and that means not treating it as a bolt-on technology. And I'm torn right now on how the industry is reacting. On one hand, Gen AI is driving a very, very different conversation. So up until now, AI has been preserved largely in the CTO or that kind of function, been bolted on in the background, which is why quite often people aren't aware of the impact it's already had. Gen AI is now coming, boardroom discussions, CEO down, often a new team being built, very aggressive, very, very aggressive cost reduction targets attached to that. And there's low-hanging fruit aplenty to meet that need. The big if is, do we then get into what AI means for our operating models to actually be solution-orientated, customer-orientated, building new products? And I think some operators will succeed in doing that, and some are getting on with it, and some will struggle because they will struggle to move to be anything other than a utility.
Raj.
So I disagree with you, because I think just to avoid the replay of 5G and other things we talked about, I do believe that it's not about simplifying operations, getting the act together for telcos. That can be done using AI. I'm not disagreeing. But if you really want to provide value to SMBs, you'll have to create a completely different business unit. Input to that business unit is all the data you have about customer usage, behavior patterns, and so on. And that business unit, its whole job number one is to take that data and translate that into something that SMBs can use to sell more products, more services. That's a fundamental shift telcos have to do, which means their CEOs, we have a CEO coming up next, we should ask him whether they're willing to do that.
So it becomes a consultancy back into the telco or into the product development piece.
But not telco consulting, right? It's a different kind of consulting. So you need different type of people, also skills.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Any more comments, or should we go to the next question?
No, it's similar to 5G, right? You need to find the killer use case. So similarly, whether you have the killer use case here, what are the real use cases, and then focus on it, right? So it will go to the same discussion like 5G, right? So, but yeah, for me, it is what is the prominent use case, the low-hanging fruit that will have the best return on the bucks.
But there was never a killer app.
Yeah.
Yes. So then what really we have to see, right? What is the incremental value of that vis-a-vis what you're going to spend, right? So that's what it is.
Ray,
Okay,
can I add one other thing?
Yeah, and then we'll come over here and then we'll go back over there.
The perceived wisdom in the industry was always, and to your point about SMBs were too difficult, was always that we build these things for the large multinationals, we'd spend loads of money on it, and that generated and would eventually filter down and generate services for the small and medium.
That's where the big bonuses were.
It was where the big bonuses were. Now, of course, what's happened, and bear in mind, enterprise revenue is about 20% of the total telecom pie at the moment. So 70% is consumer, 20 business, 10 other. The problem with the 20% for enterprise, where this has been generated, that is being radically shifted by the move to SD-WAN, the move to more web-based, more cloud-based services, and the shift away from expensive old MPLS and the like, and even ATM and X25, just to keep Neil happy. Thank you. That expense, those expensive options are being replaced, and of course the the large corporates have a better understanding of how the technology can work. So they're buying in. That's why you're seeing growth in things like Ethernet and business broadband, because the point of control has moved away from the telco network to the edge, and then the question is who controls the edge. So I think if it's too difficult to deliver for the SMB, I think the problem is that the industry is going to lose a lot of the revenue that it's been getting from the larger corporates, where they were allowed to charge very high prices for it. So if we don't modify the approach and deliver SMB, then consumers are going to become even more important.
Okay, we'll come over here. A couple of quick questions over there because we've got lots of hands up. So very quickly, Francis.
Yeah, I have a slight problem with the question because I think it's really three things conflated. One of which is that is AI relevant to SMB? Undoubtedly it is, and many companies will make a model there. Is telco relevant to SMB? Again, that's another question. Is AI, SMB, and telco together something that gives a pot of gold? Is the problem, and it really is about the telco. In a lot of these aspects, is not being a telco. Does a telco wish to be in other industries? Does it want to be the best for a hairdresser, or does it want to be the best for a newsagent, or whatever it is? They've got very, very different needs, and it's really the opportunity. There may well be money there, but it's the opportunity of placing bets. And the challenge, I think, is for telco is that it sees it as a kind of, it is always the pot of gold. Earlier it was mentioned as sort of you could put 5G in this and we were going to solve everything with 5G a couple, 3 years ago. And I think it's the challenge for telco here is less about, is telco relevant? Is telco willing to invest in being relevant to a small to medium business? Is it going to invest in being relevant to a vertical within a small
Okay,
business?
we'll get a couple of comments on that, and if you could pass that back to Christian behind you.
Absolutely spot on. I mean, that's exactly, I gave the example of Akira, that's exactly the experience they had. Going out to SMBs with things like computer vision technology, and the customer said, what is that? What does it do for me? Going with the technology. As soon as you go to a small store owner and say, I can tell you when a large consignment moves in or out of your warehouse, now I'm interested, because I can get an intelligent video surveillance solution. That is exactly the shift. And to your point, you've got to actually go and customize that product. I don't think that means millions of use cases, by the way. I think there's actually a fairly finite number of needs. But you've got to have a sales force that can go and relate to the customer, often on the ground build the product with the customer, and then a technology backbone that allows you to combine the right products into what that customer needs. So it's like a mini SI for an SMB, and it is a different business. Is it logical? Do telcos have the trusted relationships? Do they have the technology to do it? Yes. Do they have the motivation to do it? To Chris's point, I think we're going to find out.
Ray, can I defend myself from this?
If you must.
So let me give you an example in a parallel industry where they use AI in pharmaceuticals. AI is used to generate literally billions of hypothetical molecules, okay? And then you go to market with one. You launch a new drug based on one that you have modeled and you've seen whether that's going to work. So I'm not even talking about selling small businesses AI products. I'm talking about selling them connectivity products, okay? We haven't even got on to the AI products. So you just sell them one more connectivity product, but you could, if you use AI, you can model the effects of many, many, many different hypothetical products, pick the best one and launch that. That's what I'm saying.
Christian.
Yeah, Christian Toivo from Telecom Infra Project. So actually I alluded to it in the previous panel and I think I was silenced by Chris on that, but I was thinking, I don't believe there will be a lot of gold for the telcos in providing AI-based services to SMBs, but I do think there is a real role for telcos to play in this distributed cloud that is needed to reach out with AI where data resides. And I was curious to hear SoftBank's comments because I believe you are working on exactly such a transformation of your network architecture. So maybe you could open up a bit on that. That would be interesting.
Okay.
So could you repeat the question again? Yes.
Right. So basically, I understand SoftBank has actually gone in quite hard on transforming its network architecture to be able to provide AI services close to where the users are. And I was curious on what were the arguments, business arguments for that, because that might respond a bit to the question here.
And investing in edge, your own edge assets.
Right. That's a really good question. So at this moment, so like other discussions, and also like Graham told that SMB, the product for SMB is a kind of like a hypothetical one, and we really don't know what the needs. But on the other hand, what we know is SMB is relatively specialized in like one business or like one product. Or like one industry. So therefore, the scope they would ask is kind of very limited. So therefore, maybe the one possibility is to diversify the cost across the network as much as possible. And also, think about how we can also reduce the cost on the central side, which is probably, so that's why for generative AI, types of things would be an answer, because you really don't need to put like just one model to provide just one services. Generative AI can create various types of answers, or various types of roles, or various types of service scope to various customers. So we really don't know what would be the winning model, but we do believe that the way down to pursuing that types of approach would make sense in the long run. Yes.
Okay. So we can, yes, Dean and then Neil and then back here, I think if we have time.
A lot of SMBs buy their communications, connectivity and value-add services through channels and other stakeholders. Whether it's a managed service provider, or maybe the hairdresser is in a shopping mall and it's the property company running the mall or their agency, or I don't know, you get it from your accountant, says get this accounting package and the connectivity you need for it, or whatever it is. There's someone else in the loop. Is the AI here for the telco selling to that channel, or for the channel selling to the SMB?
Okay, that's a good question. Anybody want to take that on the panel?
So my understanding is how telcos use AI to enable small businesses to start offering new products, not AI-related products, new products, new services. That's how I understood the question. Because telcos have lots of data. And that data they could mine to be able to discern some patterns, some opportunities, and then they go as a SI or as managed service provider to the small business and say, oh, here's an opportunity for you to make more money because I have data to show you that this will be useful. I'll also show you how to offer that service.
Yeah. And just to remind, on the actual motion, it was AI will finally allow telcos to expose the pot of gold. And that could be in any way.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I think it would allow a much deeper understanding of the customer's actual need. So being able to segment, since we're sticking with hairdressers, all hairdressers, watch their connectivity patterns, what needs they have, even down to near-lying opportunities like security, and say there's potential there. Is that really the pot of gold? I think that's the question. Is there enough
how
value
big the
to
pot? How big the pot?
How big a pot? It's certainly not. I wouldn't agree at all. There's a killer app or killer use case. I just reject that as a concept. I think there is data that has value that telcos could learn about their customers with, and AI will play a role in that.
It's the scale of the SMBs that's attractive, isn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Neil, and then we'll see if we need to move on to the next debate.
So I mean, actually, at Juniper, we're kind of doing this with AI today. So we have our Mist platform that we put into all different types of businesses. And one of the things we learned from our Mist platform was the network access control was a big issue. So actually, we developed some solutions for it. So there's apps, and that was just by seeing what customers were doing day in, day out with their Wi-Fi, what the challenges were. And we upsell that. So that's and we work with service providers to do that. I think the second thing about this conversation is small businesses, and it's quite a wide dimension of types of companies. But what are the challenges they face? It is the simple things. How do they make payroll? What banking do they need? How do they ensure that they've got the right employee covers? How do they do insurance? All those sort of things. Can telcos be an aggregator for that? Potentially. Can AI enable us to do that? To go out and, can we build a service? Hey, business in a box, we're going to find you, the best insurance for your type of business, because they're all connected to us. Absolutely. But one thing is, there is a huge pot of gold there. And actually, if we don't fix this part of the pot of gold, I think, the industry will struggle. But I think this is happening now. And I think we just need to build upon it. And I really agree with Nick's point is this isn't a killer app. This is lots of inches. And you sell 10 of them and you've suddenly got 10 inches into your customer. That's how we have to think about it.
Yeah, so this comes back to finding out what the customers actually need and then getting a relevant service to them.
Yeah, and there's a couple of easy ones. Security. You go into any SMB and the fear that they have on being hacked and locked out of their data, locked out of their business. Actually, I wasn't going to do it, I'm going to do it. I have a hairdressing story. Jamie Stevens, go Google him. He is the UK #1 hairdresser. He's a very good friend of mine. He doesn't do my hair. His business, without being able to take payment cards and appointments, is dead.
Yeah.
So we built him a really simple service, simplest service for 4G and 5G backup. And he is willing to pay this. He stood up at the hairdressing awards and told us how great we were. And we got loads of business from hairdressers who literally, without being able to get to the internet, their business is dead. So, and how simple is that? And it's so much in our wheelhouse.
Yeah. Okay. Could you throw the box?
Money.
Excellent.
All right. Hey, Manish with Dell Technologies. I think when we talk about AI, I want to parse this problem a little bit. There is the development of the model, there's the training of the model, there's the tuning of the model, and then there is the inferencing. And data has gravity. I've said this before. The question I have for the panel is, how do you think, what's the role of the telco? Is it like, are they going to build the models for SMB, or are they going to train? Or is the opportunity here for them to provide infrastructure for inferencing where the data is getting generated and created, number one. And number two, telco also has some very interesting data sets. Customer location could be one. And is there opportunity for them to think beyond how they can expose those data sets and maybe even monetize?
Okay. Who wants to address that? Because that's really the big question. Okay, we'll start with Raj and then we'll see who else wants to.
So I don't think the SMBs want to know whether you have a model or not, how you train that, whether you're inferencing or not. That's not that all up to telcos, like you said, they know location information, they know behavioral pattern. If I'm running a bike repair shop, I want to be able to know some of my customers if they need new service, new things based on them, whatever usage patterns they have. And telcos could provide that information because of mobile phone usage. So I think ultimately translating the data into something useful in terms of either information, customer leads, to be able to add new value-added service is the opportunity that telcos could offer.
I think
so I'm with Graham in the sense that instead of million use cases, there could be million small pots of golds.
Yeah. I would extend the thinking actually from Neil's point, which is to say if right now for hairdressers it's about just taking a payment, and you sort of fast forward to a world of more and more and more of their business, and this is where hairdressing is probably the worst example, but you say that's going to become more and more digital. So more and more of your revenue is basically digitally reliant. Then security becomes a bigger issue. There's more of a criminal business case for hacking you and so on. Anybody who can say, look, not just where the connectivity works or not, but where the data flows, where it can head to, where I can track and monitor that. It's this confluence of cloud and connectivity where this gets very interesting. And that's something that I think telco is struggling with. I've just come back from China where the majority of B2B business for cloud sits with telco operators. It doesn't sit with the Amazons and others of this world. And the conversation that is driving is not about how can I sell them a better connectivity product. It's about how do I make the network and cloud work intelligently to add value to the customer. And that's where I think we'll end up. We've got to figure out how to do that in a separated cloud versus telco world. But that's where the value is. And it's about actually providing a more reliant, more secure, more opportune moment. That's why security in this industry is growing 20% per year. Nobody talks about this, but it's one of the highest products in the industry today, 15 to 20% per year security products. And it will keep growing because the risk keeps growing.
Okay. Michael, what do you think should be the first port of call, the first move for the service providers in addressing the SMB market using AI or in any way whatsoever?
Well, I think one of the points was around, could it be that they provide the infrastructure? And I know we've looked at, for Open RAN, say, one of the kind of acceleration options going forward for that is GPUs, moving away from kind of hardware accelerators. So is there a case where telcos are building out a large edge infrastructure of GPU capabilities that they can also offer to other people to run some AI workloads in between them running their RAN workloads? So I think maybe, although that's not today, like that is in the roadmap for them. So is that someplace they could look while today they focus on using AI for their own operations to get them streamlined?
Well, I think if I'm not wrong, I think SoftBank is one of the companies that's working on this, of having sort of split applications on the same infrastructure that can be used for absolutely anything. Is that right, Akira?
Yeah, we at SoftBank, we are investing heavily to build our own data center, especially for AIs, and also we are also heavily investing into develop our own LLM. And but on the other hand, again, I said that the generative AI is all about models and so the fundamental question is to find and select the better model and the correct better model. And the value we should stick with is to train the model with the data you have. So we still don't know the answer, but we are investing various things.
Okay. And Anand, final quick point from you,
Sure.
and then we are going to come to our vote.
Yeah, so see, not only providing the infrastructure, it all depends on how far the operator wants to get into this market, right? There are operators who are building super apps, to sell more value-added services on top of the data what they have. So they tie in all the financial services to doing mainly the SMB kind of a situation, right? They make money out of all those things on top of that. So it all depends on operator. Not everyone, how much they want to get into this space. Yeah, that's my take.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll see some concrete examples in 2024 because things are moving incredibly quickly. Right, okay, we need to end the debate part of it now. We need to move to the vote. So here's a reminder of the actual motion. And get ready with your voting paddles. Remember, green side forward if you support the motion, red side forward towards the stage if you are against. So please vote now. Okay, I think that, I would say that's about 60-40 against. Would you agree, Graham?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, it's 60-40 against. So the motion is voted down. It's defeated. That was a close one, not like earlier on where it was nearly a clean sweep. That was a close one. So great conversation, great questions, great points. As ever, fantastic comments on the motion. So I really appreciate that. I think we are now coming to our next break. So tea and scones, apparently. This is, we really are going upscale, yeah, absolutely.
Astiere.
Or maybe mince pies, who knows. But the break will be about 30 minutes. So see you back here at about 3:40. Thanks very much. And a round of applause for our panelists.
Thank you.